Hi all. Today we will discuss about a topic educating vis-a-vis teaching. Educating, as you know, is to make a person, a child, a learner literate in its narrow sense or in its wide sense. It's a humanizing process or a process of socialization. So in this presentation, I'm focused more on teaching teaching as a process which leads to the actual educating. So, what is teaching? Teaching we can say as a process as well as a product. So, through this presentation, you can see various aspects of teaching as a process and teaching as products. So, first of all, let us see teaching as process. Though teaching is a process, it involves a set of processes. If the teaching is in any form, so nowadays we can see that the usage of even the terminology of using teaching is gradually decreasing and prominence is gained to learning. So in that dimension also, this teaching has some sort of processes in it to enhance learning or to empower learners. So let us see the different processes underlying in teaching. So the processes shall be instructing, leading, explaining, clarifying, supporting, facilitating, co-learning, etc. So these are some of the major processes inherent in teaching. Instructing. So you know what is instructing means providing instructions. So what are instructions? So instructions are clear-cut directions given by a teacher to learner or learners. So probably it shall be the do's, and it's better to reduce don'ts. So you have to do such and such things in such and such way. That shall be a positive type of instruction. So it's better to reduce don't do this, don't do that. And instead of that, to practice to say it in a more constructive way, that you can do it in this way. This way is better. So anyhow, it's instructing or providing instructions. So setting instructions and delivering those instructions clearly to learners at different phase of your teaching learning process. So that's the very essential or the fundamental process in teaching. So it's a beginning as well. You can say it's the first step in teaching. So the first instruction you shall give to your learners that they have to listen carefully to instructions. That shall be the first instruction. So instructing is the first process. Then leading. So after instructing or together with that or at the very moment you enter in a class, you just act as a leader in the process in whatever form it is. If it is and by the direct involvement, depending on the method you follow, or whether your role as a facilitator or behind the curtains, whatever it is, so that a teacher will be a leader in the learning process, because the objectives of the lesson or objective of the topic will be well aware to teacher only. So teacher, the second process, most important process in teaching is leading. So teacher lead the lesson or lead the topic or lead the learners to desired outcomes, learning outcomes. So that leading is essentially a process in teaching. Then explaining or describing. So that's the teacher shall explain or describe various objectives or aims of the lesson, first of all. Then regarding the topics, whatever points, whatever things a teacher need to elaborate, that's explaining, elaborating things using simple terminology, useful examples, etc. So that's explaining. Another important process. Then clarifying. Though a level of explanation or description is given with the help of examples, illustrations, demonstrations, etc. Even though some points in the lesson or some aspects of the topics needs clarification. So clarifying things, that also is essential. All these things will depend on the age and experience of learners, as well as the difficulty or complexity of the topic that you are handling. So clarifying means a teacher has to provide more examples for the diverse learners. In a class, normally all classes are mixed ability classes, and the first level description or first level explanation may satisfy a good number of learners. Even then, there shall be some slow learners who require more examples, illustrations, simple terms, etc., or clarification on certain terminology or some usages that we have already given. So that's another important process in teaching, that is clarifying. Then supporting. So while we are developing a lesson, or while we are teaching a lesson, or while we are enabling learners to learn something, so that's support required. So there shall be different kinds of support that that the support only when the learner demands on demand support, or there shall be a support throughout the conduct of the lesson or throughout the learning of the activity or whatever it is. So that supporting is an essential process in teaching. So the amount of support that also shall be determined by the type of method or the strategy that you are following, also depending on the nature of the learners. Then facilitating. Though the supporting and facilitating seem synonymous, there are differences. So as a facilitator, it's your duty to ensure all the required facilities for learning a topic. So that's facilitating. It's another phase of supporting. In supporting, you are involving to some extent. As facilitating, you can just ensure the facilities. The learner has to engage using the facilities and resources that you are setting there and to learn by themselves. So that facilitating also is essential, especially when you are following, when you have an intention that your learners construct their own knowledge. Then co-learning, that's another essential process in teaching. Along with teaching, as a teacher, we need to learn from the learners and from the context, because each year each batch of students coming in front of us may be different in various aspects, in various background, various requirements, and their experience, exposure, etc. So we need to learn along with them how they are learning, how they are preferences are being changed. All these things we need to taken care of. So these are the major processes from instructing to co-learning. Now let us see some products. Teaching as products, we can say, if some products also is there insignificantly. So the first or basic products of any form of teaching, whatever method you follow, whatever it is, the intended products, the basic product is awareness. Awareness means we are providing certain information to our learners. So that's a product. As a result of teaching, some sort of awareness is created in learners. And another intended product shall be generation of development of knowledge. Knowledge in learners is a product. Then competencies and skills. That's another set of products, because teaching intended to develop a set of competencies, of set of skills in learners. Then attitudes and values, that shall be the highest level of products as a result of any teaching, not easily attained by one or two lessons, but by a period of studentship, by through years or through various activities and engagement. The attitudes and skills shall be acquired. First, the learner should have an awareness about that. Then that awareness, when they process that information that we provided, turns into knowledge. Then when they practice that knowledge, when they apply it and practice it, so they will be competent or skilled in those activities, and all these things gradually enable them to develop positive attitudes as well as values. So all these can be taken as products of teaching. So teaching as process and product, we have seen the most important processes and some of the major products in teaching. So what are the basics in teaching? So we need to understand what are the basics, then only we can properly manage the process, and we can properly lead the learners to attain the products that we are intended. So regarding basics of teaching, such as it's some sort of knowledge of what, how, when, and why to teach. So that's the basic of teaching. It's a knowledge of or knowledge about what to teach, how to teach, when to teach, and why to teach. So what should I teach? The content, the topic, and how, what method, then when, what's the occasion, which the level, in the sequencing of teaching, which topic at which place, not only because it is given in the textbook or given in the curriculum. It's not like that. It shall be depend on various other things as well. And why to teach, the relevance of teaching a particular topic or activity, etc. The knowledge of learner characteristics, that's another important basic for teaching. The teacher should have a basic knowledge about characteristics of the learners, characteristics of the audience who come in front of us. So which level, what are their level of exposure, especially in this present context. The even small children have exposure to various kinds of electronic media, gadgets, social media, etc. They may be well aware of certain things than the adult teachers. So what are their characteristics, what are their priorities, what are their needs, etc., that we have to know thoroughly. Then knowledge of institutional, national, and as well as global needs and priorities. So, needs and priorities of the institution in which we are working, the goals and priorities of our nation, as well as the needs and priorities globally. So, these are essential because on the basis of these needs and priorities, we have to focus, and we have to schedule, we have to streamline our process of teaching, so that knowledge is essential about the needs and priorities, as well as knowledge of self as a teacher, as well as ourself, and development of self. That means the professional development, how to develop. We have to analyze ourselves as a teacher, what are our strengths, what are our weakness, and how we can overcome those weaknesses, and how we can further strengthen, or how we can utilize our strength in a best way, etc. So these are some of the, and as well as to engage in developing ourselves as a teacher by enrolling in various professional development activities or programs. So these are some of the basic requirement for teaching. So thanks for watching the presentation on this educating vis-a-vis teaching. Thank you all.